Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. New week, new theme, and this one I am stoked for. We're going to be checking out some post-hardcore music all week. I'm so ready for this. You know what the thing is though? I'm a little afraid that by the end of it, I'm just not going to want to leave post-hardcore theme, and I'm going to have to dive into that project I talked about last year. I've just starting from the beginning and doing mini reactions or reviews or something to every single post-hardcore album. Because I'm not going to be satisfied after just 5 tracks. I already know it. Today we're looking at Refused, New Noise off of their album The Shape of Punk to Come, I think is what it's called. We've listened to something off this album before, and this has a music video to it though. I don't think I was expecting any of their stuff to have music videos. I don't know why. Anyways, let's dive in and see what's going on with Refused. Massive build-up here. Uh, uh, that build-up went nowhere. Okay. What year did this come out? A little bit of a breakdown here. Pairing the two ideas, giving us the heavier sound of the chorus with the lighter sound of the verse. What? a bit of sonic variation on this idea, having a different drum pattern, and now and a big ending. Yeah. What a bonkers track. So this is early though, right? I gotta find this real quick. I ask how early it is because I know Refused was at the forefront of post-hardcore in general, but specifically even this sound. And this has modern elements to it, and it always blows my mind when I realize just how early 1998. Yeah, 19 I was 10. Trying to think of what music I was listening to in 98. It wasn't this, that's for sure. This music defined my musical tastes probably 10 years later. I think that's when it really started to hit more of the mainstream sound. They're just so ahead of the time with this. This album, man, I gotta listen to it one of these days. I know I said that last time we checked out a track as well. Um, oh, it was Tannhauser, wasn't it? That track sounds familiar. So yeah, let's break this down a little bit. There's three guitar ideas in here. There's the quiet, chirpy guitar sound that we get in the quieter verses. We also heard it a little bit in our intro. There's the one bar riff that we get in the more driving section. And then we have the four chord progression that we get in the chorus. There's not a lot of variety going on in there. The one bar chord and the four chord chorus sound similar-ish. They have the same guitar tones. They're going for the same wall of sound, aggressive vibe. It's sort of these two ideas collectively representing this one side versus the quieter ambient sound that we have from that chirpy guitar. The bass pretty much follows along with this, and the drums are rather consistent with a similar but different approach. Heavier, more articulated, louder playing during the chorus and the more aggressive sections, and lighter playing focus on cymbal work during the verses. The vocals similarly do something similar, where they're quiet, soft spoken during the verse, and loud and angsty and screamy during the chorus and breakdowns and stuff. They do a fantastic job of moving back and forth between these two extremes, something that post-hardcore, at least to me, as a genre, continues to do to this day. I'm kind of curious. This says the shape of punk to come, and like it is post-hardcore. Hardcore is punk. This is a type of post-punk. there really wasn't a lot of punk that did this. When I think of punk, I think of like high intensity through the entire song. I don't really think about taking a step back. To me, that is a defining feature of post-hardcore is adapting that punky foundation and utilizing it sometimes. This song certainly has some sections that feel punker than anything else, but it's not the definitive element. And to me, it ends up feeling very modern because of that. It isn't focused on one sound, it bounces back and forth between two. I feel like that statement can be misconstrued. That isn't to say that music before the 2000s or maybe even the 90s didn't fluctuate between two or three different sounds. We certainly had prog rock in the 70s doing a lot of stuff like this. But in my limited experience of specifically rock and metal between the 50s and 90s, give or take. And again, I said very limited exposure to this group of music. To me, when we look at some of the bigger bands, a majority of the popular songs, I'm sure there's some deep cuts in there that move against this, but from my perspective, and please, anybody correct me if I'm wrong on this, because a lot of why I continue to do this channel, not just for spotlighting smaller bands or further exploring music that I love, is also being educated about eras of music that I'm less knowledgeable about. And early rock and metal is definitely a subject that I'm slowly incorporating more and more knowledge on. But to me, a lot of it feels similar-ish. Like I said, especially the stuff that reached mainstream status. They had their sound and they leaned into it well. To me, as these sounds got older, we began to hear more fluctuation, merging sounds together. And even today, the trend, we talk about post 2020s music really being about merging weird genres together, but this isn't really a new thing. I feel like a lot of modern music, especially with the acceleration of the speed that we explore and create new subgenres and new genres altogether, um, in the past, 30 years, we've begun to see more genre mashups than ever. And where we are now is just a continuation of where we've been going. It's not a new thing. It's just that the genres we're mashing up today are more disparate than they've ever been before. Generally speaking, again, I'm sure you can cherry pick some examples of some really wild avant-garde stuff from the past, sure. But that's where I'm coming at with that is when I think of punk, I don't think of two sides to punk. I'm sure there are some songs, punk bands probably had some ballads as well. Feels like everybody had to have had a ballad sometime in their life, no matter how aggressive their music is. Um, but generally, going back and forth like this feels to me like a very 90s thing. Um, where was I going with all this, though? Why did I bring that? Anyways, it's a good topic. I'm glad we got there. I just have no idea why we got there. They do this fantastically, though, and it ends up feeling very modern to me. I don't really think of this as a 98 album. This feels more of mid 2000s to me. Maybe even late 2000s, early 2010s. I think the only thing that really delivers it for me, being a bit older, is the production on it. Otherwise, it's impressive how well this has aged. The Shape of Punk to Come, I think I said this last time too, is just a great name for this album because if they were on the forefront of things, they predicted it very well. And thus their music has aged well as well. But there is this simplicity at the heart of it. And I think this is going to be the thing that most people might decide to, if they wanted to, call me out on. And I wish I had an answer for this. I don't really have a lot of depth to dissect this track on, honestly. lighter verses and heavier choruses, and the fact that they feel so forward facing, it's probably as deep as this analysis is going to get. Because it's just not that deep of a song musically. It's, like I said, it's three ideas that are played in a variety of passages. This isn't a very clear ABABCB structure. I think the structure might be the most complex thing about it. But it's either on a volume of 1 or a volume of 11. There's no in between, there's no fade-ins, there's no transitions. They do one thing and then they do the opposite. Then they go back to the one thing and then they do the opposite. And but I really enjoyed it. And I know in the past I've called out simplicity, repetition, uh, sometimes predictability, though sometimes the familiar is a nice comfort as well. But these are things that this song has in spades that I've criticized other songs for in the past. I don't know why I enjoy this. My best answer is because I like the sound of it. The compositional elements I can forgive because the general sonic landscape of it, the audio identity of it is palatable to my ears. There's probably a little bit of nostalgia at play here as I grew up on some of this stuff before I started really training my critical ear. And so all of this comes together into a type of music that I'm probably a bit more forgiving of, and I allow to get past some of my hurdles and hangups, more so than music that I'm not too big of a fan of. But this is really only a guess. I'm sure a lot of you listen to this and you may have thought, well, Bryan probably isn't going to like this because of these things. Or I'm surprised Bryan likes it because of these things. And like, no, I get that too. I don't know why I like post-hardcore. It doesn't fit in what I generally seek out in music, but there's something about this specific sound. I don't care what kind of simplicity or complexity or whatever, you hit these chords with these guitar tones and you put some of this whiny screaming on top whiny screaming on top of it, and I'm sold. That's really all you need to get me to really enjoy something casually. And I think that's where this stands for me, is it's really great casual listening for me. And it's why I want to explore more of post-hardcore. As far as rock and metal goes, many of the albums that I've enjoyed over the past couple of years, diving into new music, and that I put on my album recaps. Most of the songs that I end up at the end of the video going, yeah, that was phenomenal. I love it. So great. I tend to really enjoy this stuff from a more critical, analytical perspective. I can listen to this stuff again because there's added depth to it. It's like a really great, a greatly produced and directed and acted film. Something that you're going to get more of out of the second, third, and fifth listen, even though the first was already great. You know there's more to be explored, that there's more treasure the deeper you dig. But very rarely do I find or discover music, bands, or albums through the channel or by listening to, what's being released lately, and find something that I really like casually outside of post-hardcore. It's just my home genre, I guess. It's where I feel most comfortable in. And I think also that closeness it makes it difficult for me to analytically view. Not only is this a bit of a more shallower track from a purely compositional standpoint, but it's difficult for me to stand on the side and be objective about it. It does not bode well for this week. um, is there anything I want to add on to this though? I'll be honest, I listened to this track a bit more casually than I would any other track. Again, because I just enjoyed it. The video was fun to watch. I don't normally watch videos either, but I think for like a full solid minute, I was looking straight at it. Usually I'll glance over, especially if there's instruments to see. glance over, see if I can pick something up there. But for the most part, I'm trying to hone in on the music. The video is there for y'all. I know a lot of people like that visual element, and just looking at album art isn't always interesting. So if there's a video, I usually put one up, but it's not typically for me. But yeah, I got sucked into this, the whole story of it, the costumes and stuff, watching them break the drum kit. That was wild. There were two singers. I enjoyed that. They had very similar timbres though, which I don't know if I would have picked up without the music video. Yeah, I guess that's about it. I'm gonna try to be a bit more critical tomorrow and have a bit more of a focus on the song instead of jamming out with it. I think today was a good video for introspection, possibly, but I can't do that 5 videos in a row. That's going to get boring. Tomorrow, I got to come with my head in the game, I suppose, and less with my head in the music. That's not a great way to think of it. Let's hit some lyrics before I say something else dumb. This is going to spark some discussion. Lyrically, this is a track that posits them as a revolutionary sound against the mainstream pop world, or what was becoming the mainstream pop world at the time. They call that the new beat. They say that the new beat has people who admire the beauty of it, the luxury of it, that the artists have $1,000 smiles. But they say that great words won't cover ugly actions and good frames won't save bad paintings. Saying that this entire world of the new beats, the mainstream music, is one of image more so than music. It's about looking the part, not necessarily being the part, because the music, as they say, isn't good. No matter how perfect these people look, the good frames, the people, won't save the bad paintings, the music. I have thoughts on this, but we're going to come back to it in a second. I want to further dive into this. Verse 2, though, says, when the day is over, the doors are locked on us, money buys the access, and we can't pay the cost. If I remember correctly, Refused was an underground band. They didn't have a lot of money to buy them access to who knows what, events. They couldn't buy their way into music awards or record labels, all sorts of stuff. They weren't marketable, and they didn't have the money to market themselves. They say that instead, we're just going to call ourselves the new noise. We're what people need. We are new art for the real people. The chorus says, we dance all the wrong songs, we enjoy all the wrong songs, we dance all the wrong moves. The idea that the music they're making and the way that they're moving doesn't look right. There's an oddness to it, but that's part of their new noise approach. I agree with parts of this, of course, and I think it did a pretty good job of predicting what would come later. I'm sure there were some artists in the pop stream, in the mainstream pop world, that probably already were a reflection of some of these lyrics, but it's impossible to read about affording the beauty of being an artist and the luxury of being an artist and having $1,000 smile it's difficult to read those and not think about specific artists today. There are certainly specific artists who visually represent this side of the industrialized, famous, music related person concept. But I don't like the gatekeepering tone to the lyrics here because I don't want to put words in their mouth, and I think I am going to extrapolate one of the things they say out a little bit. But they mention that good frames won't save bad paintings, that no matter how much you dress up the musician, the music they make is still terrible. I think that discredits a lot of really great music that just happens to have a lot of money thrown behind it. Having a high budget does not intrinsically mean what you're making is bad, and accommodating to marketability also does not mean that the music you're making is bad. It does mean that it's going to be a little blander because return of interest comes in. Your shareholders, whoever is putting their money behind your project, is expecting a return on that. And so it has to have a wider audience than something maybe a bit more personal. Punk rock can get away with being punk rock because they don't care how big they're going to get. But when there's money involved, some people are going to care how big a project is because they're looking at maximizing the money they get back out of it. It is an investment. It is absolutely not about the art at that point. I think Refused is spot on with that. But I do think that they're drawing conclusions here that are not upheld by the position that they're taking a stand on. And I think that they also, while there probably are artists out there who have utilized pop stardom as a way to facilitate them getting rich and famous, and the music is secondary to them outside of the fame and the money, there are just as many artists who utilize these paths to achieve a way of getting their music out there, and they do make the compromises in order to be at this level and have this audience. It's still about the art for them. Refused sees that as just as bad as the other. Again, I don't fully agree with this. They do, though, talk about how money and status and fame and family are more important in the music industry than talent and skill. This is something I can 100% get behind, the second verse here. There is a lot of fantastic music that goes completely unheard of every day, and it sucks. And it's only getting worse due to how easy it is to make and produce and release music. And I'm glad that they included that part in there. But the song overall feels to posit itself as them being, I don't know, gatekeepers for what real music is, especially that one part. We need new music, new art for real people. Am I less of a person because I enjoy mainstream pop music? Is it less music because there's an element of production and corporate elements in it? No, I don't think the answer is yes to either of those. And they are saying that on one level or another. And it's just not. And see, this makes me think about the music too, right? So I think this is really, really interesting. The music bounces back and forth between lighter, chirpier guitar tones and the heavier punk sound, right? This to me felt like a pure understanding of what music would look like in the future in this genre. But I don't think that's why they did it. To me, the verse being that monotone spoken word with the chirpy guitar bit and the, well, quieter volume overall and less impactful drumming, less dense drumming. Basically, in to put it in a single term, it's simpler music. Feels tongue in cheek. To me, it feels like they're parodying the electronic music of the time, not in a way to incorporate it in their music, like how modern artists are merging all of their inspirations together, but as a way to poke fun at it. Listen to this new beat. Listen how garbage this is. Aren't you waiting for his chorus to come back in? Aren't you waiting for us to scream again? This is dumb, this is lame, this is the garbage we're talking about. That's how I feel they're presenting the verse now that I know what the lyrics are about, and it makes me like the song even less. I'm completely open to another interpretation of this, but this feels 100% like the whole sellout real music gatekeepery garbage that I've heard from rock and metal musicians and basically anything that isn't mainstream pop for so long. And I know this was 98. It might not have been so tiring back then, but it is very tiring to hear this now. And man, it kind of sucks because I enjoy the music. But this is not a song I would sing along to. Let me know your thoughts though. Like I said, I'm open up to conversation on this. Maybe I'm a bit too narrow-minded on my perspective of these lyrics. How do you feel about them though? How do you feel about the song overall? This is my thoughts on Refused New Noise. Above the comment section in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. You can find ways to support the channel. You can find my music. A bunch of I did that out of order. Now I don't know what I'm supposed to. Oh, the Discord link is in there. A bunch of stuff. Go check it out. You click on it and you get that full menu. So much stuff there. Above the description box, if you could like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. All right, we do have a special selection today. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC. I'm riled up now, man. I feel like I'm saying this stuff angry right now. Go check out my stuff. Give me that thumbs up. Make sure you check out the next video. I'm so mad. I'm a bit riled up though. All right, until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.